Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about the January 2nd, 2022 new moon in Capricorn transit. First off, I want to wish everyone out there a happy new year. I hope all your goals and aspirations are fulfilled. It's convenient that this is happening on the day after New Year's, so this is actually a very good, let's say, a new moon as far as being an opportune time to start resolutions. It's in the sign of Capricorn, of course, and Capricorn is about structure and discipline, being responsible, and really setting doing things that are very being very serious, I should say, and planning and premeditation. So this is a time where I would say it's a very good time for people to begin or start something. And if you're a day late on your resolutions for New Year's, perhaps this is the time to start them on this day, not to procrastinate. Now, speaking of procrastination, the new moon, I mean, in general, for those of you that may not know, it's about new beginnings, but it's also, I mean, it's really very, you have a very strong surfite and abundance of energy at this time, and it really, whatever may have been holding you back, or whatever reason you might have been stalling or procrastinated or what have you, those things, frivolous things may be discarded at this time, and it's really, again, this is a very good time to start something new that could be Capricorn related. There are no, it doesn't make any oppositions. This particular new moon, the only square, if you, as far as major, it doesn't make any. I should say, it doesn't make any oppositions or squares to any other planets, but it does make a square to Chiron, and that's really the main, as far as an adverse aspect that it makes to any, I guess you call you major astrological influence. That's what I'm saying. That's really the main, the main thing, and you're really, as far as anything where you're talking about, like, a hindrance, any small, and I would say a fairly minor, as far as anything that might cause some conflict in you making starts. I mean, this is something with Chiron being in Aries, that's that could be about suffering, due to unworthiness and feelings of unworthiness, and really it might have something to do with identity, as far as who you really are. But that's, I mean, it's a collective transit, and it's of course it's important to look at the aspects that this makes to points in your own chart. But before I get to that, the thing about this transit, I mean, again, it can be very positive and auspicious for starting something, and it doesn't make any squares or oppositions to um, any other planets. Now, the thing is, when you look at the new moon, Capricorn, it could be a time where many may start something with business. It could be something connected with the government, political work. It may be something just simply getting structure and discipline in one's life. If this falls in the fourth house, it could be the start of getting structure and discipline in one's home life. Um, it might be the beginning, say if it's in the third house, it might be the start of being responsible toward a sibling, a cousin, or a neighbor, or just simply very more regimented, consistent communications. Uh, it's a time too, I mean, Capricorn is very serious energy, and it's something where it's time, for many, I would say, to start buckling down. And again, going back to the fact this is the day after New Year's, it's very, I mean, it's appropriate and really apropos, I'd say, that it would be at this time, because it's almost perfect and impeccable timing, given that it's the day after New Year's. And this is, again, a very good time to pursue career ambitions. If this falls in the, say if it's in the second, sixth, or 10th house, especially what I would call one of the money houses, career job houses, it could be the start of a new Capricorn job or position. It could be doing something with the government or politics, information technology, even accounting, dentistry, masonry, carpentry. It could be something with architecture or construction. I mean, you could have this fall, I mean, say if it falls in the fifth house in one's chart, it could be the start simply doing something Capricorn related as a hobby, whether it could be crafts or maybe doing something, that's enjoyable, or, could be sports related. Maybe it's running in obstacle courses. I mean, Capricorn is about restrictions, roadblocks, obstacles, I should say. And the thing about this is what makes this a good, not just the fact that it doesn't make any squares or oppositions to any planets. It doesn't even make any, it doesn't even make any inconjunct aspects to any planets, which of course inconjuncts, as many of you may know, often require adjustment or transition, and that of course can cause some exasperation and tension. Thing about this is it makes a trine to Uranus. So if you're starting something that's Capricorn related, this could be something where it could be very auspicious for getting the support from friends, and it could, or even in groups, and it may give more confidence in, let's say you're starting something that you want to bring out, publicly at some point. It might be some innovation. So it might be something where it may be more accepted, where you feel confident it's more accepted by society, since that is what Uranus is associated with. Now, another thing too I want to say, though new moons are generally auspicious, the thing is, let's say, I mean, if this falls in the, especially if it falls in the first or sixth house in the natal chart, it may be a start, I would say, of something that could be health related that's associated with Capricorn. But given it's a new moon, we're not talking about lunar eclipses or anything very solar eclipses or anything that's serious. It could be just something minor. That could be something with the knees, the bones, the joints, the hamstrings, or even the gallbladder. The thing too, and it could also be, I mean, if you have this in the sixth house or first house, it could be the start of doing something, regimented, as far as something for the physical body. The first house represents the physical body in astrology. The sixth house is associated with physical health related matters. It could be a regimented diet. If this falls in the sixth house, could be the start of that. Another thing too is that as far as saving symbols go, okay, this falls at 12 degrees Capricorn. And the thing about that is, as far as the saving symbols go, well, you got to be careful that this is not just solely about self-aggrandizement, and that this is not just something where you want to starting something where it's more just about helping yourself and not helping others, and guard against bamboozling somebody. And as an example, let's say if you were to start something where you were gonna mentor somebody in business, try to encourage them or to start a business, give them some insight into it, and you wind up making all this money, and really whatever you say doesn't really help the person. It's not beneficial to that person. That's as a basic example of that. And this is something too where, I mean, when you look at this transit, of course, I mean, other transits, are important as well at this time, because the other transits can be intensified because they're taking place at the same time as this new moon. You're going to still have Venus retrograde, and the thing is, some may not agree with this or subscribe to this theory, but I do believe it's actually true, though, more than just a theory, that when you have Venus retrograde, hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back, but anyway. The thing is, when you have Venus retrograde, sometimes I believe it may manifest in the return of somebody, relationship. It doesn't have to be necessarily a love relationship. It could be a significant friendship. The fact that it's in Capricorn could signify an older person. Perhaps it's a Capricorn Sun, Moon, or Ascendant person, or simply one that embodies those characteristics. Maybe it's somebody who's a business relationship or partnership. Somebody from somebody that was you were in a business connection with. And Venus is also conjunct Pluto. So this could be the time where it could be the ending. Pluto is about obliteration, and Venus again connected with relationships. It might be a time where many may end a relationship, or it could be a money making venture that might have just been something you might have stayed with for a while. Just remember that Capricorn is about its aging, it's about longevity, and it could be something where might be something, or could be something that somebody might have been doing that was Capricorn related, making money doing dentistry or accounting, or masonry or general mundane work as some examples. And the thing about this is what makes it interesting. At the same time of this transit, you're going to have Mercury in Aquarius at 0 degrees. And what makes that significance is that when you look at 0 degrees, I would say especially in fixed signs, fixed signs are about permanency. When you have something at 0 to 1 degree in a fixed sign, to me that signifies what starts never ends, never ceases. And Mercury being in Aquarius, that could be some kind of speaking, writing, something with communications. It could be doing something with electronics or communication or over the internet. It might be astrological writings as another example. And the fact that you have the new moon energy, this is a time where it can be, where you might feel very rejuvenated, revitalized, and wanting to start something with a lot of that Capricorn ambition. The fact you have Mercury in Aquarius, could enhance this. Mercury being at 0 degrees Aquarius, 0 to 1 degrees can signify beginnings. And the fact it's in a fixed sign, especially what can start, what may not end. So this could be more of a significant new moon than what you would ordinarily, what you would see, what you would think it would be just by glancing at it. It's also too the fact that you have a, as far as Neptune goes, at least a loose, making a loose sextile to the sun and the moon. This could be, where whatever you may start at this time, that could be Capricorn related, could have more idealism and inspiration in order to do so at this time. And another thing too is that when you have a new moon in astrology, other transits to your own chart can be significant as well, can be intensified and amplified because they're taking place at the same time as the new moon. Now with me, I'm going to have the transit at this time of at least a loose conjunction of the South Node. Now the South Node being in Sagittarius. Now it depends too on whether you're more a believer, subscriber to the true node or the mean node. I'm talking about the true node. True node right now, as far as the South node, is currently in Sagittarius, where it's in Scorpio as far as the mean node goes. But either way, I'm still looking at a conjunction, or at least a loose conjunction nonetheless. And the transit of this south node again is going to at least make a loose conjunction to my natal Neptune and Scorpio in the 7th house. And when the south node is involved in transit, it can reflect what we're going away from. And for me, it could, when the fact that Neptune is about fantasy, 7th house relationships, and something about Neptune and Scorpio could be, even though it's generational, it may manifest in the fantasizing about a provocative connection, about a deep connection. Maybe this could reflect that I'm going away from that, and maybe on the positive end, that could signify something new. And again, we have this Mercury in Aquarius at 0 degrees, about having the thinking about being progressive, futuristic, moving forward at this time. And even though the moon is in Capricorn and it's detriment, and you might think, well, this could also be a lot of despondent and despondency, feelings of depression, despondency at the same time. You're going to have, the fact that it's a new moon, again, could be very positive and auspicious and signify things that are new. And another thing about that transit of the south node to the natal Neptune and Scorpio in the 7th house, another way that might manifest and be expressed, I'm thinking, could be perhaps it might signify the ending, sadly going away from perhaps compassionate support from others. And that's something that I have to keep in mind too. The fact that the me node is in Taurus. I'm going with the transit of the true node, but either way, if you're going with the me node, it's already in Taurus, but the transit of the true node is going to be in Taurus. So I have to keep in mind it's about self-reliance coming up as far as money goes, and trying to generate one's own money and things of that nature. But anyway, really trying to see if there's anything else I wanted to get at as far as this transit, because I think I've pretty much got through. Well, the only other thing I wanted to say is that it's also important to look at the transits this makes to other points in your chart, as that of course could impact the delineation and interpretation. Now, this transit of the the new moon in Capricorn is going to make an inconjunct aspect to my natal moon in Gemini. And even, this is in conjunction astrology can be about adjustments. And you're talking about moon energy is about emotions, how we feel. And the fact that the new moon again can be about starting something. In Moon in Capricorn, Capricorn energy is very structured and disciplined, of course. It could be about taking, less talking, more about how, actions and ideas could take precedence over words. The Moon in Gemini, having the natal Moon Gemini might be very loquacious at times, and also, maybe talking more about things and not doing and not following through on the ideas. So I have to remember that this could be an adjustment period at the time of this new moon. It might signify, it might be time to be more about, acting on the ideas and solutions, as opposed to actually just talking about them, and being more serious about things, whether it's life in general, or as opposed to being, the moon Gemini, feeling whimsical or being whimsical, even if it's on an unconscious level. The moon, of course, the unconscious. And again, the house is important where it falls in as well, is that can impact the delineation and interpretation. This transit of this new moon in Capricorn is going to fall in my 9th house of expanding horizons. So it could be a time where I could maybe start to do something, and maybe more either as far as consistently expanding horizons. Maybe it's something where I begin something more regimented as far as higher education, learning, something, and it's going to be interesting to see how this pans out for me at this time. But again, I think this can be a little bit more significant than the typical new moon, because I mean, what makes it very good, again, and auspicious, is that it doesn't make any adverse aspects to any other planets. And well, I think, if you whatever you start that could be connected with this new moon in Capricorn, you have a good chance of doing it with little resistance and obstruction or any delay. It's just important that when you don't have, just to make sure you don't get too relaxed during this, and being able to just try to just do what you have to do, and hopefully it'll pan out in a way where it's going to be very positive, and I think it can be for a lot of people, actually. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.